Hey everybody, movie reviewing store here, and back with another review. It's been about 11 days, 12 days now. Um, Still haven't been able to send my computer. I'll be able to send it Monday into the shop, and then it'll be a week. But I'm working on my old computer for now. Seems to be working for now, and kind of wanted to do something special for y'all. Finish out a series so far, and that film was John Wick Chapter 4. It's a 2023 action film directed by Chad Stahelski, and it stars Keanu Reeves, Donnie Yen, Bill Skarsgård, Ian McShane, Lawrence Fishburne, Lance Reddick, Clancy Brown, Hiroyuki Sanada, Rina Sawayama, Scott Adkins, and Marco Zaror. In this film, with the price of on his head ever increasing, John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table. But before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. So, what did I think of John Wick Chapter 4? Well, I thought it was a massive fucking letdown. Now, is this film devoid of good things? No. I won't say that. But this film, compared to the first and third at least, because I'd still watch the second over this because it's not 3 fucking hours long. I know there's a lot of people that feel that the runtime isn't felt. For me, it really was, and I wanted to love this movie. I wanted to maybe not hail it as the best action movie ever like a lot of people are, which makes me think they haven't seen a lot of action movies. But I at least wanted to enjoy this. To a degree, I guess I did, but not enough. Let me get to the cast. Keanu Reeves plays John Wick. This is his worst acting in the series so far. He was really poor. He says about 100 words in a 3-hour-long movie. There are swaths of the movie where it feels like he couldn't come in to shoot. And maybe that's because he was working on something else. I don't know of anything currently that he's working on that would mean that he'd have to not be on set. But he's in about 2 hours of his starring movie, which is 2 hours and 49 minutes. It seems, at least. But yeah, there are a lot of extra characters in order to set up these side films that they want to do, with Rina Sawayama and Donnie Yen's character, and then with Ana de Armas' character in Ballerina, which they kind of set up in the third, I guess. Yeah, Keanu Reeves still does decent in the action, but his acting here really shows that he's not that good. Donnie Yen is Kane. Donnie Yen, a fantastic martial artist. Even though I haven't seen more than maybe one of his movies, I can tell that he's very fucking talented. I want to know who decided to make him blind and basically just a joke. And I'm not saying they're joking about blind people. That has nothing to do with it. It's just that the most he does outside of be a character that goes back and forth with allegiances constantly is he's just a joke, and he doesn't like the stuff that he gets to do is really annoying, and it's not. I'll get to the action and the issue I have with the action later, but Bill Skarsgård is Marquis. He is your villain here, and I'd compare him to Rami Malek in No Time to Die, in that he is a very lackluster and, quite frankly, terribly done villain that doesn't scare me. He's not menacing at all, and yeah, just really don't care about his character. I don't think Bill Skarsgård is that good of an actor. I can look here and see what else he's done. I haven't seen enough to be able to tell, but Other than it, I can't think of anything I've seen of his that I liked, but I liked him in. Ian McShane plays Winston. He's fine, but he doesn't get much to do. Lawrence Fishburne, same as Bowery King, doesn't get much to do. Lance Reddick as Sharon. He's literally there just to push the plot along in one scene. Clancy Brown, wasted as Harbinger. He gets a few lines maybe, and he gets his own character poster with the marketing of this film, and I'd be surprised if he's in 5 minutes. Clancy Brown would have been a better villain. Watch Highlander to see why. Hiroyuki Sanada plays Shimazu. They're probably setting this character up to have like a prequel series or something. He's fine. I like Hiroyuki Sanada as an actor. He was in the Mortal Kombat movie from a couple years ago as Scorpion, I think. He was fine there. He gets a couple cool action scenes, I guess. Rina Sawayama, her acting really isn't that good, but her fighting skills are at least pretty decent. Scott Adkins is Killa, wasted. Martial artist, not in most of the film. He's got 2 scenes, and he's in a fucking fat suit. Doesn't get to do much martial arts at all. You hire a martial artist, you expect them to do martial arts, but no. Chad Stahelski has other things to do with them. And Marcos Aurora as Chidi. He's a right-hand man of Marquis. Barely gets anything to do as well. And I'd say the main problem with this film is that it does nothing new. It's... Just a second. Let me mute something. There you go. This movie does really nothing new for the series, especially action-wise, for sure. It straight up reuses action set pieces from the last films. There is yet another dance club, like there was in the first 2. If there wasn't one in the third, I guess I forgot about it. It brings back a dog, but has nowhere near the dog action was in the third. The most memorable thing about the third, and again, the third is my favorite in the series, was the dog action scene, where you had the 2 dogs laying waste to all these guys, like biting into them, or biting their nuts, pulling them, Halle Berry and Keanu kicking ass, shooting people, taking them down, and it was badass. It didn't last too long, and yeah, you got really pumped up. My mom is not an action movie person. She loves that scene and loves that movie. We both think it's the third is the best. It had memorable action scenes. This, other than the fire breath shotgun scene, which it's a cool idea, but my issue with it is the CGI. You mean to tell me this movie had a $100 million budget? $100 million. That is not a low amount of money in any way, shape, or form. Especially with an action movie. You cannot tell me, oh, they spent all that on the actors. No. You mean to tell me that they had that budget, but they couldn't afford stunt actors for that scene? That could actually be set on fire? That would have been really cool. But no. You want to have this weird video game angle that makes it look even more fake. And if anything, it just brings more attention to the special effects, which aren't that good. The VFX at play here, while not the worst I've ever seen, are well under par. And again, I don't make movies. I understand. I want to make movies. And I know, and I'm not going to do the same pussy shit that Chris Stuckman did, where he stopped reviewing movies he didn't like because, now I've been an asshole all these years. I didn't understand how hard it was to make movies. Fuck you. Film criticism and making films are completely different things and should stay separate. But anyway, The effects here make the movie look cheap. If they used practical effects more, I would definitely enjoy this movie more. If they use, like, I saw someone on Letterboxd hailing this as the hard-boiled of our generation. Hard-boiled being my personal favorite action movie, I got mad. I didn't comment, I'm not a child, but I got mad at that because I was like, I know this is someone else's opinion, but I don't see how this is anywhere near hard-boiled. And they also brought up the fire breath shotgun scene, which, yes, it's memorable. I can say memorable as in I can't remember any of the other action scenes, mostly because they got so numbing that I ended up forgetting them instantly. Literally the first action scene in the movie really sets you up for the monotony to follow, because it's literally just John Wick riding on horseback, shoots a couple guys in the desert, then shoots a guy because he doesn't know where his ring is. The beginning to the third film was so much better than this. Better shot, better edited, better choreographed, more brutal. This film isn't brutal. There aren't any moments in this film I would consider brutal. It feels really safe. It feels like a Fast and Furious movie. I am surprised this movie got an R rating, because most of the blood, again, all of the blood in all of the movies has always been an issue for me. For the most part, it looks like shit, the CGI blood. With the budgets that they have, they should be able to do squibs. It would be cheaper. You wouldn't have to pay people to put in shitty digital blood. But my main issue, again, with these action scenes, they're just monotonous. There's nothing new to them. Literally, the first big ol' action scene in Japan, which you have to wait like 40 minutes into the movie for. Literally. You have to wait like through 35 minutes of really boring dialogue to get to this Japan bit where you finally see Keanu again. It takes, literally, from minute 7 of the movie to minute 40-something for Keanu to come back into the movie. The main character, Keanu Reeves. This is what people are being sold on. Keanu Reeves kicking ass. And it takes Keanu Reeves, like 35 or 40 minutes to come back to the movie. What? Does that make sense to anybody? I can see why this movie is almost 3 hours long. It's clear that Chad Stahelski needs an editor. It's clear he didn't have one. But anyway, the action scenes get monotonous and repetitive because it's the same things happening over and over and over again. Like the nunchucks in that first scene. You could have used to take out like 3 guys. He uses it to take out like 15, and it takes like 2 whole minutes. There's like 2 whole minutes of just nunchucks. And it really wore on my nerves. Because it's not that it's terribly choreographed, it's well choreographed for the most part. But there is such a thing as doing too much. The people calling this an action epic and saying it's like, again, one of the best action movies ever, which, again, I gravely disagree with. If you feel that way, fine. I don't dislike you as a person for liking this movie. Plenty of friends of mine loved this movie. That's valid. If you genuinely love this movie and are not following a trend, yes. Other issues. I have to go back to my notes because I almost just emptied this movie out of my brain. The bulletproof cuffs. This was something introduced in, I think, the second film, maybe the third, where the suits are bulletproof and they'll like deflect bullets with their arms. They do this so much in just the first action scene that I got tired of them. If you use it every so often as like a last resort, like, oh, I'm on the ground, ting, 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 it can work. It works for old-timey Wonder Woman, Linda Carter Wonder Woman, not Gal Gadot. But they overuse it so much to the point where it's like, why create this shit when you could just say, I don't know, wear body armor, which they do later, which just reminded me of the better action scene in John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, where John Wick, there's the siege on the Continental, and he's like shooting the shotgun at close range at the guy with the armor multiple times to get through the armor. That was cool, because he was pushing through, and it felt real. This film goes so hard into the, like, it goes way too far into the ridiculous that it takes me out of the action. And when you take me out of the action, I'm not having fun. There were a couple moments in this film that I was like, okay, that hit, or it worked. But there's so much wasted here. Like these three martial artists, Marco Zoror, Donnie Yen, and Scott Adkins. I don't know much about Donnie Yen, but to make him like this anti-hero, is he a good guy, is he a bad guy thing, and also make him blind to give him some type of gimmick, you don't need a gimmick. Donnie Yen's a fantastic fighter. Just give him a ton of fights. But no. Then you've got Marco Zoror. I have not seen a lot of his stuff, but I saw him in Redeemer, which is apparently one of his lesser movies, and even in that, the fight choreography is brutal as fuck. There's some brutal, gory deaths, but also just a fuck ton of fun. And he's very fast. He's a insanely fast martial artist. Barely gets but a couple small fights, and the way he's taken out is by he's taken out and then a dog pisses on his head. A CGI dog, by the way. Because it wasn't like the third film. I don't know, they put some effort into it, trained the dogs so they could actually do all this shit without hurting the actual actors. Nope, in this film it's a CGI dog. Very obvious at many points. The dog crashes into a windscreen at one point, and then very obviously CG. It's not like dummies exist or editing. You could have edited it to make it look more real, but no. Thirdly, the biggest offender, Scott Adkins. Why does Hollywood hate Scott Adkins? Why do bigger budget movies hate Scott Adkins? American Assassin. He's there for one scuffle with Dylan O'Brien. Doesn't get to say much at all. Gets shot before he gets a proper fight. Criminal, which is from Millennium, which released a movie that really showed some of his best fighting ever, Special Forces. Even though he wasn't the main character, he was a huge highlight of that film. Criminal, where he's behind a desk. And now this, where he's in a just a ridiculous looking fat suit. And he doesn't get anything to do other than this ridiculous looking fight where he's flailing his arms around, trying his hardest to do his choreography. And I'm just thinking, why does he have to be in a fat suit? There's nothing about this character. This character is barely in the film long enough to establish himself. It's just like, oh, you know he's bad because he's got a Russian accent or Italian or whatever the fuck accent they were going for. He says something in German, but then he sounds Italian. Stop giving Scott Adkins accents. Just let him be British. Let him use a sexy British voice. Terrifying, but sexy, whatever. I try not to talk about that stuff. But he has a very good voice. A very nice to listen to voice. You can make that threatening. Because he can go through with the threat. Because he can fucking fight. But no. You gotta put him in a stupid looking fat suit. And this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that you have all of this just handed to you. You have Scott Adkins handed to you on a fucking platter, Chad Stahelski. And you wasted him. You wasted him in a nothing role. Like, people think that you're reinventing action movies. You are not. And the people that think that all of these action movies are ripping off John Wick, I'm sorry. I enjoyed Kate better than John Wick 1 and 2, at least. I enjoyed Gunpowder Milkshake better than John Wick Chapter 2. I enjoyed Peppermint more than John Wick Chapter 1 and 2. Sue me. These movies that are supposedly ripping off John Wick, which again, John Wick isn't original in the slightest. Nothing about John Wick is original. It's all the same shit you've seen before, but because you're told to like it, you like it. And I hate to be that person right now, but it's true. John Wick isn't original. John Wick doesn't have an original bone in his body, the character or the series. This is probably the most cynical you'll ever see me get, because I'm tired of settling for this shit in Hollywood. And I know these are technically independent, since it's Lionsgate, and Lionsgate is an independent company. I know I'm supposed to support every independent movie, but then I would be being dishonest. And I'm not going to be dishonest with you guys. I'm going to say it like it is. Let me see. What else can I say about this? I mean, the music by Tyler Bates was fine. It's not much different from the other films. They reuse that one club song that plays in the bit where John Wick is going in the first film, the club scene. They reuse that song during the Fire Breath Shotgun. I like that song. That scene could have been done better. It's a cool concept with the camera going out of the set, but it really does look like a video game and not in a good way. Again, the sparks from the shotgun look cool, but for some reason to me, the fire just looks ridiculously fake. The CG in these movies has always been the worst part of them. If you used practical fire or used practical blood squibs, maybe the action would hit better. But the action in this film just falls so flat for me. And the action in the last film, I could tell that there was at least some practical elements. There's barely anything practical in this film. It really does feel like a Fast and Furious film. There's a few funny lines. There's a good line from Bowery King where John Wick needs a gun, so he gives it to him, and then he's like, "How'd you get this?" And then he says, "Oh, know a guy who knows a guy who shot a guy." I like that line. Bowery King is barely in the movie, and I wish he was in it more because I love Lawrence Fishburne to death. Frickin', what's his name? Ian McShane. I've seen other people mention this, and I was looking out for it. There is a scene where, and this isn't elder abuse. I hate being mean to elderly people. Did he get new dentures or something? Because there's a scene where he opens his mouth really wide, and you can clearly see, like, really badly sticking out teeth. And they're, like, distractingly white. And it just took me out of the entire conversation because I was like, what the fuck is up with his teeth? I don't like being mean, but it just felt so weird. And I didn't know what was going on, so I don't know. Just something that stuck out to me. That's something that you can edit. But yeah, this film having a 3.9 out of 5 on Letterbox and what's on the fucking IMDb, like 7.7 or something. Like, let me see. Yeah, 7.7. Like, if there's a movie chasing trends, it's this one. I might watch Chapter 5, but if Chapter 5 is longer than 3 hours, I might not. Because this movie does not need to be this long. It could easily be cut down to 2 hours. There's probably somebody that'll upload a pirated, like, 2-hour cut. Maybe I'll watch that if somebody does it and see if that improves it for me. But for the most part, this is just a very uninspired, like, really biting off way more than it can chew, and people thinking it's doing something new when it's really just, oh, this thing you've seen before, here's that thing for 15 minutes. And it gets really tiresome. And that's the last thing you want an action movie to do, is be boring. Which a lot of this film and a lot of the overlong action scenes come off as boring to me. So, sorry to say. It's still, I can still say it's at least okay. It's not, I don't think it's a terrible movie, but it just wastes the potential of this big budget and being able to do all this shit, and I just don't see it as the action epic people are proclaiming it as. And the ending pisses me off. Not gonna spoil the ending, but the ending pisses me off. Not much else to say, but yeah. That was my review of John Wick Chapter 4. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. If you have any recommendations, put those in the comments as well. And Movie Reviewer Next Door, out.